It was something that I did want to discuss today, and not just about how the show ended, because I really wanted to focus on how I think generally this season has kind of made me question my relationship with reality TV as a whole. You know, I obviously love reality TV or certain shows, and I become really emotionally invested, especially in Love Island, more so than I think anything. I find myself yelling at the TV, cheering, crying, smiling, and just, connecting so much with these young people as they go through this experience. You know, when Aniya broke down saying, I picked you every fucking time. At the fire pit, I picked you. With the letters, I picked you. You didn't pick me. And I picked you every time. Literally chills. Oh my God. Every time I hear that back, I'm like, you can't write that. I mean, you can. A great script writer would. But the fact that that was just came out of her, that scene, I was crying. I have never seen such heartbreak on TV before. And this whole concept of I picked you is just so visceral. And then, the bromance between Zach and Bryce, that just warmed my heart. The last episode when Bryce and Trinity win and Zach's like, can I kiss him, Trinity? She's like, no. But I love that. I love their bromance. It's so sweet and so innocent, and just like, that's how, actual great male friendships can be. And also, who can forget my queen, Kenzie, at the start of the season, revealing she is a Gemini moon, which she said makes sense because she gets really emotional at night. Dead. That girl. That still absolutely sent me. Oh, your moon signs being how you act at night. Brilliant. But on top of that, she actually is giving her tons of credit. I loved watching her because she has such a strong sense of self-worth, and just seeing her really put up her boundaries for bullshit behavior, and when she was treated badly, being like, nah, I'm done, not turning back to it. And I think that really shows that she has, and she spoke about this a lot, her parents who have according to her, really beautiful relationship. And I think when you're raised with that, you're not going to put up with bullshit. So she was incredibly awesome to watch, and we'll never forget her protest splits. That girl, always in splits, gonna miss that. But, despite those fun moments throughout the last 6 weeks, I've been wondering, why do we get so emotionally invested as viewers? And what does this show generally make us think about relationships and being chosen? And I think ultimately, we like to see people going through similar struggles that we go through in our own dating life, because it's not just reality TV that depicts these things. Art depicts this generally. And why is it that we like art? It's because it makes us feel more connected to people and the world around us. Reality TV is just another form of showcasing humanity in a way, albeit it can be very heightened and produced. It is an art form. And I think watching it as an adult, I don't necessarily see Love Island as a definitive representation of relationships. I see a highly produced environment where young people have no access to their normal lives and nothing to think about except dating and being chosen and how they are perceived. So of course, everything is going to feel heightened. And they literally put them in a scenario where they're removed from everything else. So I think I always tell people, imagine what that must feel like if you were disconnected from everything in the world and that was all your attention was on. Of course, it's going to be like that. And I think we lose that. But in this art form, we also see things that people go through in relationships that we also go through. And I don't think the danger is kind of watching it. I think the danger is forgetting what we are watching has been specifically edited to make us feel something. So I started to think more whether watching these types of dynamics is just escapism, harmless catharsis, or is it quietly shaping what we consider normal? And whether the mass majority of people who are watching this, whether they're separating the reality from the entertainment. And I saw a creator on Instagram frame this through the philosophical divide between Plato and Aristotle. Plato was deeply suspicious of theater and storytelling because he believed repeated representations of violence, betrayal, and bad behavior could influence the audience's character and understanding of reality. Aristotle saw drama differently. He believed storytelling through theater could offer catharsis, allowing an audience to experience intense emotions through art rather than needing to act them out in real life. Modern media research has its own version of this conversation called cultivation theory. So the basic idea is that repeated exposure to a particular version of reality can gradually influence what we begin to see as normal. So people argue that if we continue to watch relationships depicted in shows like Love Island, The Bachelor, all these shows that are out there, we start to normalize this as the benchmark for relationships. And when I started to kind of think about all of this more, I feel like all these theories can be true at once. If you watch reality TV and forget that it's a constructed, edited environment and allow it to influence your behavior, it can definitely become dangerous. But if you watch it with a sense of discernment and allow it to be more escapism, then it can just be for entertainment purposes and also maybe something that helps you process your own emotions. However, I sometimes worry that it might be the former. And this has become especially clear to me when I see the amount of hate that is thrown towards these people who go on Love Island, specifically the hate they receive online and on social media. To me, that makes me think that the audience forgets that they're real people and that ultimately we kind of all make mistakes and we're not perfect. And I think there's this really fine line because I sit here talking about this, right? We as viewers should be able to talk about this and have our opinions on it. That's part of the fun. That is part of the fun of reality TV, is to make your opinions on what you would do and why you think they did that. And it's, again, kind of like a social experiment. But I really think where the line is when that discussion goes in as direct hate towards these people. You know, they leave the villa and they are thrust into fame. And a lot of them get destroyed by public opinion for things that are totally out of their control. I have been seeing a lot of the Islanders and kind of sticking up for Zach, and I started to look into what was going on. And apparently there's been all this hate towards Zach online, who was one of the finalists, with people saying that they felt like he should have made Kata his girlfriend, who Kata was his partner when they finished the show, and, you know, questioning why he didn't. And then people were hating on him because there was times that he had kind of let it slip to Kata that I love you. And then he kind of joked it off. So he's getting all this hate from people that he's, you know, not good enough for Kata or whatnot. But I think what is really sad, and this is where I'm like, people are not watching it with discernment, because from what we were shown, Zach has spoken about being compared to his older brother, who was previously on the show last year. And he has often struggled with how he saw himself. And I think that context made me really view some of his joking and discomfort with, you know, empathy or maybe his feelings. I think it comes from a place of insecurity. He mentioned how his older brother was always the handsome one and the popular one, and he wasn't. And that's really hard. They also look very similar. And I think when you have an age that's super close, your brother or sister, the older one, and you often get compared to them, it can really affect your own sense of identity. So I really empathize for him. And it's well known that people often laugh when sharing their real emotions if they feel too uncomfortable. So if he's let it slip out, I love you, and then he's like, fuck, I don't know what to do. He's probably just terrified. And look, I could be wrong. I do not know him. And that's exactly the point. None of us know these people enough to justify the levels of certainty and cruelty that are directed at them. But we can still talk about it just in a kind way and in an empathetic way. And it made me think that maybe this is slightly what Plato was actually getting at. Because you could say that in his theory of this being about theater, so back in the day, people would go to theater. I mean, people go to theater now, but you know what he was saying. And then they go away and talk about it and talk about the show and the actors. And maybe his theory is that people get caught up in that. And that's kind of exactly what's happening now. People are getting caught up in this dialogue and forgetting that this is really just a show. And maybe it's even more dangerous now because people can sit behind their computers and say whatever they want without consequence. Whilst if you're out in the real world, you're probably not going to be throwing these hateful comments at people. So even myself, I try and be careful with it sometimes, because I love to talk about pop culture and reality TV, especially on this podcast. But I always catch myself. I don't want to get too opinionated. And I always am reminding myself that these are just people, because ultimately I will never understand the nuances of what is going on. And if anything, I think my opinions tend to lead with a lot more empathy than hate, because I really think that's the only way that you can approach these things. It's so difficult, though. It really is, because like, even as I'm saying that, I'm like, well, I was kind of hating hard on Casey for a lot of this season, and I don't know this man, and Sincere. So it is a really fine line. But I guess I just keep telling myself, like, as long as the hate's not directed at those people on their channels, and ultimately, like, there is an element of discussion that is okay and should be enjoyed. But really, the issue, I think, is not whether we watch these shows, because theater and art is always going to be a part of our lives. And I actually lean more towards Aristotle's theory that art is catharsis. Art is escapism. And I think the real problem is people forgetting that this is not reality. The work, as a viewer, should be always reminding yourself that this is for television, that this is dramatized, and that this is escapism and entertainment. And if you can watch it from this lens, reality TV actually can create community and conversation and shared understanding, because you see that in all the commentary online. And I think that's actually way more positive. And people gathering to watch it together and talking about what's happening. That's the version of reality TV culture I want to participate in. Conversation, shared understanding, and opinions that are not turning into cruelty. And if you feel a need to go to their accounts and spread hate, I think stop yourself, because you wouldn't do that for your friends, or you wouldn't do that, to your friends or your family. So don't do it to people you don't know. So really, the ending of Love Island has made me think about the experiences that we watched together. And it kind of tied, interestingly, into my next topic today, which is an article that I read that really made me think about what happens when we actually enter a collective experience together in real life. I think reality TV lets us watch connection, and a dance floor lets us participate in it.